I will be showing you the best jump shot for every height, build, and 3-point rating for rhythm shooting. I'll also be showing you the best fades, I'll be showing you the best small guard jumper, I'll be showing you the best lock and ISO lock jumpers, I'll be showing you the best 6'6" jumper, I'll be showing you the best 6'10" demi jumper, and the best jumper for a 7-foot stretch playmaker. I'll also be showing you the best shooting settings and the best way to activate rhythm shooting. Welcome back to the channel, and I hope everyone is having a Merry Christmas and a blessed day. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to master rhythm shooting. I will also be showing you the best jump shot for every height. If you found this video useful, be sure to drop a sub as we are on that 60K grind. Crank them post notice and smash that like button. But with all that yapping out the way, let's go ahead and get into today's video. First, let me show you the best shooting settings to shoot more consistent. If you go into your controller settings, you have a shot timing profile setting with a few different options. I would suggest using high risk reward to shoot the highest percent possible. If you're struggling on high risk, then you can try normal risk, which will allow you to hit whites, but you want to have the mentality that you eventually want to switch to high risk for a bigger boost. I would also recommend that you use shooting boost and get your hotspots from my career and then turn them into purple lethal zones from the Art of Shooting gym. So this video is focused on using rhythm shooting for all builds. Let me show you how to activate rhythm shooting and how to find your cue. I use rhythm shooting by going left to right, but most people do up down. It's really personal preference. To start your shot, you want to flick and hold the right stick to the left. You then want to flick the right stick to the right before your player releases the ball. You want to make sure you flick the right stick before your player releases the ball to account for the latency. Because if you flick the right stick too late, the shot will register slightly late or late. Of course, different jumpers will have different rhythm shooting timings based on the build and jump shot. That's really the best way that I can explain how to use rhythm shooting. You also want to use rhythm shooting on fades, which gives you a bigger boost to those types of shots. The best way to time fades is to go up down on your right stick, because this allows you to activate your fade animation while holding turbo. Same steps apply. Activate your fade by holding turbo and flicking and holding your right stick up. Then flick down just before your player is about to release the ball for easy greens. Now let's get into the best fade and jump shots for your small guards. I have been using the crisp paw fade on all my guard builds. It has a requirement to be under 6'5" with a 82 midi or 3-point rating. Rhythm shooting is easier on fades because they are easier to time. You should be rhythm shooting anytime you take a fade for a bigger boost to your green window. I've been using the crisp paw fade all year. This fade ante has a high release and is very hard to contest, so all you need is a little separation for it to register as a open shot. Now I'm going to show you my favorite jump shot for rhythm shooting on small guards. It's Curry base with Kyrie and Oscar as my releases. I put my visual cue on release and my release speed is on fast. And you want to blend the releases 50-50. This is the jump shot that I use on all my high 3-ball guard builds, as it requires a 91 midi or 3-point rating. This is the easiest jump shot to time using rhythm shooting, and I wish I could use it on every single build that I have, but since it requires such a high 3-ball, I use a different shot on my isol lock, pure lock, and slasher build. What also makes this jump shot so good is that it has a A+ timing stability. It's not too slow to where it gets contested easy, but it's not too fast either, so it's very easy to time with rhythm shooting, whether it's off the catch and shoot or off the ISO. This next jumper is what I use on my 2-way ISO lock, pure lock, and the new slasher build that I just made. It's Kevin Porter Jr. with Oscar and Sexton as my 2 releases. I use a release as my cue on all my builds. We have a fast release speed and I blend it 85-15. This base is unlocked as a starter for animation. It has been the very best base for my guard builds with under a 93-point rating. The hard thing about using rhythm shooting on small guards is that the jumpers are very fast, which can be hard to time using the right stick. So I had to find jumpers that were a tad bit slower but still fast enough not to easily be contested. KPG requires a 86 midi or 3-point rating and has solid shot attributes. These clips that I've showed are a mix of my 3 builds that match this 3-point requirement. It's good for spot up shooters and it's good for shooting off the ISO. I wanted to include my old jump shot for anyone who needs a lock or ISO lock jumper who is not a starter for yet. This jumper is Cam Thomas with double Oscar as my releases. For the release speed, I had to go on normal because it's so fast. You can blend it 50-50. Cam Thomas is an amazing base, especially if you shoot with X, but for rhythm shooting, it can be hard to tom, so that's why I had to put the speed on normal. The Cam Thomas base is very fast. I used the jumper on these builds for most of the year, and even after I hit starter 4 until I tried out KPJ. It has really good attributes and requires a 88 midi or 3-point rating. This jumper has a huge green window, but the downside is it can be hard to tom with rhythm shooting even on the slower release speed. I found myself to be more consistent overall with the KPJ jumper that I just showed. Another jumper that I wanted to mention is the Patty Mills base, which is another animation unlocked at starter 4. I also use Oscar and Sexton for the releases, and I would blend it 85-15. This jumper is what most comp players use and is great for X shooting, but I found it to be way too fast for rhythm shooting even on the normal release speed. It only requires a 87 midi or 3-point rating and has really good shot attributes, making it usable for most small guard builds. This is going to be the fade that I use on all my builds 6'4" and above. I use the basic fade and it has no attribute requirement. I like to use the same fade on all my builds if possible, so I use this on my 6'6", 6'10", and 7-foot builds. It has a really good fade and going left and right with turbo, and is very easy to time with rhythm shooting. Now I'm going to get into the best jump shot that I use on my 6'6" slasher build with a max wingspan. The only base that you need for your 6'5" to 6'9" builds is Jarrett Culver. I use Oscar and Troy as my 2 releases. I put the release speed on max and I blend it 50-50. Rhythm shooting is much easier to tom on your build 6'5" and above, mainly because the jumpers are usually slower. If you're not using Culver base on these types of builds, then you should definitely give it a try. It has good shot attributes and only requires an 82 midi or 3-point rating. You should find rhythm shooting to be much more smooth on taller builds, and rhythm shooting is best used for lower rated 3-point attributes. Next, I got you guys with a couple of jumpers that I use on my 6'10" slashing shot creator with a max wingspan. The best jumper that I use is Jonathan Isaac base for my 6'10" plus builds, with Charles and Mike as the 2 releases. I max out the release speed and blend it 90-10. This 6'10" build only has a 75 3-point shot, so this jumper is really good for low rated 3-point attributes or really any center build. Center jumpers are fire with rhythm shooting because it feels so smooth on these types of builds. And like I said, I would always recommend rhythm shooting on lower rated 3-point builds for a higher make percentage. The Isaac base is the best base for any center build and only requires a 75 midi or 3-point rating with solid shot attributes. Here is another jumper that I decided to share. Just in case you did not like the Isaac base, it's the Missy base with double Robinson as the releases. I would put the release speed all the way up and blend it 50-50. I personally thought this jumper was too fast for this build and the ratings aren't the best, but it only requires a 64 midi or 3-point rating, so it could be used for center builds with a very low 3-ball, but it's best used if you really like fast jumpers. For the last jump shot of this video, I'll be showing you what I use on my 7-foot stretch playmaker with an 83-point rating. I still use Jonathan Isaac, but I use Baluba and Alex as my releases. I put my release speed on normal and blend it 58-42. I made this center build in season 1, and I got used to the timing on normal speed. I should probably change to the fastest release speed, but I really like the timing as is with rhythm shooting, and it's what I'm used to on this build. This jumper requires a 80 midi or 3-point rating and has good shot attributes for this build. I would always recommend Jonathan Isaac base for any center builds with the releases that is best for you and meet your 3-point requirement. I would also always recommend going the fastest release speed on your center builds, so I may switch it up for a faster release. So yeah man, that's every jump shot for every build that I've used so far on NBA 2K25. Thank you for watching, and everyone stay blessed.